What's up everybody, Jack from Half Grown. Today I'm talking about this. This is the BetaFPV 65x HD. That's right, this tiny little guy has an HD camera and records HD footage on board, 1080p at 60 frames a second. That's pretty darn impressive. Now, this looks an awful lot like a tinywhoop. And you might think, should I compare it to something like the Mobula 6? I would say no. Actually, in a lot of ways, it's more like something like this than it was the Mobula 6. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a tinywhoop with an HD camera, but it's gonna fly different than the tinywhoops you're used to, so keep that in mind. Let's take a closer look. All right, so let's start with a short indoor flight from the view of this HD camera. I'm gonna zip around the house, which is actually kind of what I think this is best for, flying inside. I took it outside. That flight didn't go well because I had some wind and it's just so darn light. Now, I muted the audio. There is audio, and I'll let you hear that in just a second because otherwise it just kind of sounds like angry hornets. Now, it isn't quite as nimble as most whoops, and that's kind of not what it was built for. So here's a quick little flight, and it ends like most of mine in a crash. So it looks like there is a microphone on this, so that's cool. I don't know how great it is. It's not gonna be super useful in flight, but it is nice to kind of, state, hey, this is flight number 3 or pack number 4. We are at X location. So that could be useful. Who knows? All right, so this is the Beta65x HD, and it is a fun little machine. Pretty neat to get something that is 30 grams that can take HD video. That's right, 1080p up to 60 frames a second out of this guy. So let's talk about some of the specs. And again, probably the most important is its size and weight. So we're talking 65 millimeters. So it's a lot like this guy. All right, the Mobula. Checking in at 30 grams. You get a couple of these 300 milliamp hour 1S batteries. Now they're the BT2 connectors. So these are different connectors on them, and you're gonna fly with 2 of them. 47 grams. That's pretty darn light, but compare that to the Mobula, which is 20 grams, and you're only gonna need 1 of those, right? So it is roughly the weight, of the HD, right? So yeah, you're gonna get way better video out of this thing. You're gonna get better performance out of this. But we'll talk about the performance of this. I just can't believe how much smaller it is than the 75. Like, it just feels a ton lighter. I guess it is more than twice as light. This thing is gonna have a heavier battery anyway, right? So pretty awesome. They've got their own camera in here. They call it the BetaFPV Nano HD camera, so that's super cool. The VTX is 25 milliwatts, as you'd probably expect. These motors are 0802, and they're pushing 31 millimeter gem fan props. These are tri-blades, 1 millimeter hole. The flight controller is an F4 flight controller, so keep that in mind. And like I said before, you're gonna fly with 2 batteries. You're gonna fly in 2S, so you're gonna use both of these connectors to get it going. If you want to fly in 1S, you'd have to jump one of these, but I don't think a 300 milliamp hour battery is going to cut it in terms of power. So yeah, that's what it is in terms of text and specs. Other things you want to know: this camera is fixed at 30 degrees. And mine is internal receiver at FrSky. It's actually D16, not D8, so a little different, and I should get better range out of this, supposedly. You can order it with FlySky, Spectrum, and even Crossfire, I believe. A couple other things to note: the batteries are plugged, right? So they'll be easy to swap, although you probably shouldn't have to because they are brushless. And they did 3D print this battery holder, which is actually really nice, does a nice job, and it's available on their website. So if you want to steal that idea for some of your other drones, you can. It uses the same frame as the 65, the Meteor 65, so that's cool. It is a good frame, we know that. Did come with this really sweet carrying case, extra set of props, and I even got an extra canopy. Mine also came with some other extras, including a multi-charger. That's because BetaFPV sent this thing for me to test. I don't know what all of that comes other than you get the drone, you get the case, you get the 2 batteries. I believe you get an extra set of props, Maybe get a canopy, but I don't think so. I don't think you get the extra canopy or the charger. Let's get this thing going. All right, so we got it outside for another quick flight now. This is just so that you can see the camera. It does not perform well outdoors with any bit of wind, and there was just enough wind to kind of throw me off. I got it up in the air, and it was just kind of getting pushed around. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this flight short and get it back into the basement so you can see how it flies and check the camera out a little bit better in a low light situation. Now, I did go ahead and flash the JESC firmware on these, and that caused me a problem. I was getting RPM filter on my OSD, and it wouldn't take off. So if you guys know what that is all about, please let me know so I can fix that. As you can see, it's just not ripping around like I would with my Mobula 6. It's not the same thing, right? It is a different style quad. This one, if you need HD video, this might be the thing for you. All right, so this, do I like it? Yes. Would I recommend it? Probably. It kind of depends on what you're looking for. These connectors, the BT 2.0s, are they an advantage or a disadvantage? Well, it could be either, right? They are better, don't get me wrong, but you gotta buy new batteries, so that's kind of a bummer. HD camera, really nice. However, smaller field of view, so you gotta keep that in consideration. And it's a lot heavier than a standard tinywhoop, which means it's not gonna be quite as nimble or perform quite as well. So kind of depends. Are you looking for racing, fun, freestyle, zipping around the house? Or are you looking for slow, smooth footage? That's why I think that it compares a lot to something like this, right? If I'm looking for slow and smooth footage, I'm gonna pull out my cinewhoop, right? Unless I need something in a really tiny space, that's where this thing comes into play, right? You can hit gaps with this, they just certainly can't with this. Hey, so thanks for watching. Make sure you check us out on halfchrome.com. We've got all sorts of info, including more info on this little guy here for you. Good luck. Happy flying.